The history of Eve. Explore the fascinating story of Eve, the first woman, from the paradise of Eden to the impact of her actions on future generations. Her journey of love, temptation, and redemption offers us valuable lessons about humanity and its persistent quest for meaning. Immerse yourself in the tale of how Eve and Adam shaped human destiny. Chapter 1. The Creation of Eve. At the beginning of everything, in a garden of unimaginable beauty and perfection called Eden, Eve, the first woman, came into being. She was not created from dust or from nothing, but from the rib of Adam, the first man, while he slept deeply. This divine act of creation symbolized not only the deep connection and fundamental equality between Eve and Adam, but also the beginning of a companionship that would break man's solitude in this earthly paradise. The intention was clear. Each would be for the other a companion, a reflection, and an equal in this divine dwelling. The Garden of Eden, with its vibrant splendor, served as the perfect backdrop for this beginning. The trees overflowed with juicy fruits, and the flowers displayed a mosaic of colors and fragrances. Animals of all shapes and sizes lived in harmony, and crystal-clear rivers meandered gently, whispering eternal melodies. In this living canvas, Eve awoke to life, her eyes opening for the first time to the wonder of creation, to the unconditional love of her Creator, and to the comforting presence of Adam, her destined companion. The relationship between Eve and Adam was one of pure equality and mutual respect. They walked together through the garden, exploring every corner of this paradise, learning about each plant and each animal, and marveling at the work of their divine hands. It was a life without lacks or conflicts, where the only law was to love and live in accordance with all creation. God Himself walked through the garden in the cool of the day, speaking with them, sharing His wisdom and His love, and strengthening that unbreakable bond between the Creator and His creatures. Eve, with her innate curiosity and her ability to marvel at the small wonders of Eden, quickly became the living heart of the garden. Her laughter was like music that filled the air, and her kindness was like a light that knew no shadows. Adam, for his part, felt complete with Eve by his side, as if, until her arrival, he had only been a half waiting to be whole. In this divine setting, where time seemed not to exist, and each day was a gift, began the story of humanity, woven with threads of love, companionship, and a peace that, until then, seemed eternal. Chapter 2. Life in Eden. Life in the Garden of Eden unfolded each day like a new symphony, where each note resonated with the harmony of creation. Eve and Adam, in their idyllic existence, found in each sunrise infinite opportunities to explore, learn, and grow. They lived in a symbiotic relationship not only with each other but with everything around them. The animals, free from fear, approached them, and the earth generously offered its fruits without the need for work or effort. In this paradise, nature and humanity shared a common language of respect and mutual understanding. The relationship of Eve and Adam with God was at the core of their existence. God was not a distant figure. He was a father, a teacher, and a friend. The conversations at dusk were moments of deep spiritual connection, where the secrets of the universe were revealed and the purpose of their lives was reinforced. This direct relationship with the divine filled their hearts with immense gratitude and joy, strengthening their conviction to live according to the will of their Creator. Despite the freedom they enjoyed in Eden, there was one prohibition: not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This command was not an arbitrary restriction, but an act of divine love, intended to preserve them from the pains and complications that knowledge of evil would bring. However, this prohibition also represented an act of faith and obedience towards their Creator, a reminder that true freedom lies within the limits of wisdom and love. Eve, with her inquisitive spirit and her pure heart, found delight in every aspect of the garden, but she also felt a deep curiosity about the forbidden tree. It was not a curiosity born of rebellion, but of the desire to fully understand the world around her. Adam, aware of the delicate balance of their existence, often reminded her of their Creator's reasons, seeking to appease her curiosity with the promise of greater wisdom in obedience and trust. Together, in the heart of Eden, they navigated the calm waters of a sinless life, still unaware of the shadows that would soon fall over their perfect world. Chapter 3: The Temptation. In the heart of Eden, under the wide canopy of an immaculate sky, a trial was woven that would define the fate of humanity. The serpent, more cunning than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made, found its way to Eve. Its presence was not intimidating. However, it carried with it a veiled promise of forbidden knowledge, a whisper of power and revelation that awakened a latent curiosity in Eve's soul. Has God indeed said, "You shall not eat of any tree of the garden"? The serpent's question was insidious, designed to sow doubt. Eve, still firm in her faith and convictions, responded, reiterating the only prohibition imposed by God and the deadly consequences of disobedience. However, the serpent, with words soft as velvet and sharp as the sharpest blade, unfolded its deception: "You will not surely die. Your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods, knowing good and evil." The temptation was now a flame that shed light on unknown desires. Eve, looking at the forbidden fruit, no longer saw just a prohibition, but a door to wisdom and understanding. The internal battle that raged within her was fierce. Loyalty and love towards her Creator faced off against the thirst for knowledge and autonomy. It was a decision that bore the weight of all future creation, a moment suspended between eternal innocence and imminent fall. Finally, moved by a desire to reach an understanding beyond her paradisiacal existence, Eve took the fruit and ate. In that instant, the fate of humanity twisted towards a new and unknown path. Then, as if guided by a force outside herself, she offered the fruit to Adam, who, without the expected resistance, accepted and ate. The deed was done. Obedience had been broken. The consequences of their decision were felt immediately. A new, unknown, and overwhelming consciousness flooded their beings. Innocence faded like mist before the rising sun, and a sharp sense of their vulnerability enveloped them. Nakedness, previously a natural and meaningless state, became a source of shame and fear. Currently, Eve and Adam experienced for the first time the anguish of separation from their Creator, a foreboding of the suffering to come. The serpent, the instrument of this transformation, slithered away, leaving behind an uncertain future and an irreversibly altered paradise. Chapter 4: The Fall. The consummation of the forbidden action marked the beginning of an irreversible change in the existence of Eve and Adam. Both their eyes were opened, and for the first time, they beheld the world through a lens of knowledge and shame. Nakedness, which previously symbolized the purity and innocence of their relationship, transformed into a source of profound shame. In a desperate attempt to hide their vulnerability, they took fig leaves, weaving them into the first garments, a symbolic act marking the end of their innocence and the beginning of a new reality. The cool of the day brought with it the presence of God in the garden, a routine that was previously awaited with joy and anticipation. However, this time, the sound of his steps infused an unknown fear into the hearts of Eve and Adam. Instead of running towards him, they hid among the trees of the garden, driven by a new and disturbing feeling, the fear of confrontation with their Creator. God, knowing all, called out to Adam, "Where are you?" With these words, he was not only seeking his physical location but also inviting Adam and Eve to face the consequences of their actions and to come out of their hiding place of shame and fear. Adam responded, revealing his hiding place and the reason for his fear, his nakedness and his disobedience. The conversation that followed uncovered the chain of events triggered by the temptation, the deception of the serpent, Eve's decision to eat the fruit, and her influence on Adam to do the same. This dialogue marked not only the admission of their fault but also the beginning of the fracture in the relationship between humanity and God, a wound that would transcend generations. The consequences of their disobedience were immediate and severe. God pronounced judgment on the serpent, Eve, and Adam. For Eve, the consequences included increased pain in childbirth and a complicated dynamic in her relationship with Adam, symbolizing not just physical pain but also the emotional and relational pain that would arise from their action. For Adam, the curse fell upon the earth, from which he had been formed. The soil that once had given everything generously now would require his sweat and labor to produce. This moment of judgment and penalty revealed a transformed reality. Life would no longer be a peaceful existence in Eden, but a struggle for survival outside of it. The fall, as it would be remembered, marked the end of the perfect harmony between God, humanity, and creation. Shame and fear, emotions until then unknown, firmly installed themselves in the human heart, dictating a new course for the existence of Eve and Adam and for all future generations. Disobedience had woven its dark thread through the tapestry of human history, establishing a before and an after in the relationship between the created and their creator. Chapter 5. The Consequences. The divine judgment pronounced in the Garden of Eden outlined not only the immediate repercussions of the transgression committed by Eve and Adam but also established the cornerstones of post-Eden human existence. For Eve, the sentence was profoundly personal and encompassing, affecting not only her experience of motherhood but also her relationship with Adam. The pain in childbirth, a direct consequence of her disobedience, became a perpetual reminder of that moment of failure, an echo of her choice that would resonate through every generation. Additionally, the dynamic of her relationship with Adam was altered, introducing concepts of dominion and conflict before harmony and balance. Adam, for his part, faced a punishment that would transform his relationship with the earth. The earth, which once offered its gifts without reserve, now demands sweat and intense labor to reveal its fruits. This change marked the end of effortless abundance and the beginning of a struggle for subsistence, symbolizing the passage from innocence to toil. The sentence to the serpent, beyond its immediate degradation, established an eternal enmity between the serpent and the woman's offspring, prophesying a perpetual conflict that would surpass the realm of Eden. This pronouncement served not only as punishment but also as a premonition of future struggles and victories, a glimmer of hope in the darkness of the sentence pronounced. The expulsion of Eve and Adam from the Garden of Eden was the final act of this initial drama, a moment laden with sadness but also with mercy. God, in his just judgment, also provided garments of skins for them, an act of care that mitigated their shame and prepared them for life outside paradise. This gesture symbolized the beginning of a new relationship between God and humanity, one marked by grace as much as by justice. The departure of Eve and Adam from Eden signified much more than the simple change of an environment. It marked the beginning of human experience as we know it. Life outside Eden would be full of challenges, but also of opportunities to grow, learn, and redeem. Through their lives, their mistakes, and their learnings, Eve and Adam laid the foundations for the story of humanity, a story of fall but also of hope, of struggle but also of overcoming. In this new world, every effort, every pain, and every joy would become the threads with which the rich and complex fabric of human experience would be woven. Chapter 6. The Exile from Eden. The exile of Eve and Adam from the Garden of Eden marked the beginning of a fundamentally different existence. Expelled from paradisiacal perfection and facing an unknown world, they had to learn to survive under adverse conditions. This change meant not only the abandonment of a home but also the confrontation with a reality where every aspect of their life would require effort, resilience, and constant adaptation. The soil outside Eden, unlike the garden, was rough and demanded hard work to cultivate. Adam, who had known the earth as a source of inexhaustible and easy sustenance, now found that each seed planted required sweat and determination to become food. Eve, for her part, faced the complexities of motherhood in an environment where pain and joy were closely intertwined, constantly reminding her of the consequences of their actions in Eden. However, amidst these difficulties, Eve and Adam discovered a new dimension of their existence: resilience. They learned to cultivate the land, to protect themselves from the elements, and to utilize the resources that their new home offered. This ability to adapt and overcome became one of the first lessons passed down to their descendants, a lesson on the importance of perseverance and hope in the face of adversity. The expulsion also deepened the relationship between Eve and Adam, forging a bond strengthened by shared struggles and joint achievements. Together, they faced the realities of an imperfect world, learning to support each other in ways they had never before considered necessary. This mutual support became the foundation upon which they would build their lives outside Eden, a testament to the human capacity to find strength in union even in the most challenging moments. The loss of paradise, though marked by pain and regret, also opened the door to a more profound understanding of grace and forgiveness. As Eve and Adam advanced on the path of their new lives, they discovered that each day brought with it both challenges and blessings. The memory of Eden remained as a reminder of what they had lost, but also served as a guide towards what they could aspire to be, beings capable of growing and learning, not despite their mistakes, but through them. In this journey filled with uncertainties, they found not only the harshness of earthly existence but also the beauty of life in its most pure and struggled form, a life where each achievement was a victory over the adversities of the past. Chapter 7. The Birth of Cain and Abel. Life outside Eden, marked by constant challenges and learnings, received a new chapter with the birth of Cain and Abel, the first children of Eve. These events brought with them a mixture of immeasurable joy and a new series of responsibilities for Eve and Adam. As a mother, Eve experienced the unconditional and overwhelming love towards her children, a feeling so profound that it redefined her existence. Motherhood taught her about strength, vulnerability, and the immense power of sacrifice, emotions that could only be fully understood in the context of caring for and raising a new life. Cain, the firstborn, became a tiller of the ground, following in his father's footsteps in the cultivation and care of the soil that demanded so much from them. Abel, on the other hand, found his way in tending the flocks, showing an affinity for animals that complemented his brother's work in maintaining their sustenance. These divergences in their paths not only reflected the first human specializations in work, but also the diversity of gifts and passions that would characterize humanity. Eve, observing her sons grow and develop in distinct roles, found a source of pride and concern. Motherhood confronted her with the complexity of guiding these beings, who, though born of her, possessed their wills and desires. This challenge led her to reflect on her journey, from the innocence of Eden to the nuanced reality of her current life. Each achievement and each mistake of her sons became lessons that resonated with her experience, teaching her about the impermanence of life and the importance of guidance and unconditional love. The family dynamics, with their joys and tensions, illustrated the continuous evolution of human life. The shared moments, from daily chores to rituals and celebrations, wove the rich tapestry of their collective existence. In this environment, Eve and Adam not only raised their children in the art of survival, but also in the values and principles that formed the basis of their relationship and learning. Through Cain and Abel, Eve saw reflected the duality of life, the capacity for love and kindness, as well as for conflict and challenge, elements that would define the legacy of her family and, by extension, of humanity. Chapter 8. The Conflict between Cain and Abel. The growth and development of Cain and Abel, under the watchful eye of Eve and Adam, brought with them not only moments of pride and joy but also the gestation of a conflict that would deeply mark the first human family. Cain, as a farmer, and Abel, as a shepherd, followed different but complementary paths, each dedicated to their labors with the sweat of their brow. However, at the heart of this diversity, the seed of discord was sown, fueled by human nature and its inclinations towards envy and resentment. The escalation of the conflict became evident when both brothers presented offerings to God. Abel, with the sincerity and purity of his heart, offered the best of his flock, a gesture that was looked upon favorably by God. Cain, on his part, presented the fruits of the earth, an offering that, for reasons that resonated with his attitude and heart, did not receive the same divine acceptance. This rejection ignited in Cain a flame of jealousy and bitterness towards his brother, a corrosive emotion that clouded his judgment and poisoned his spirit. Eve, witnessing the growing distance between her sons, found herself caught in a storm of emotions. The mother in her wished to intervene, to heal the wounds that were opening between her descendants, but she also recognized the complexity of fraternal ties and the limits of her influence. The anguish of witnessing this conflict was a reflection of her struggle with decisions and their consequences, a reminiscence of her experience in Eden that she now saw replicated in her sons. The tragedy reached its climax when Cain, consumed by envy and anger, committed the unthinkable act, the murder of Abel. This moment of extreme violence, the first murder, was a devastating blow for Eve and Adam, a loss that transcended physical pain to touch the depths of spiritual despair. The death of Abel meant not only the loss of a son but also the irreparable fracture of the family and the lost innocence of humanity. The emotional impact on Eve was unfathomable. The mother who had given life now faced death brought on by the hands of her offspring. The search for understanding and reconciliation became a personal crusade, an attempt to find some sense amidst the chaos. This event marked a before and after in the life of the first family, teaching painful lessons about jealousy, anger, and the consequences of our actions. For Eve and Adam, managing this conflict and its resolution would become a legacy of warning and learning for future generations, a somber reminder of the human capacity for good and evil. Chapter 9: Life After the Tragedy. The death of Abel and the subsequent departure of Cain represented a turning point in the lives of Eve and Adam. The magnitude of this tragedy plunged them into an abyss of grief and mourning, an experience that shook the foundations of their existence and confronted them with the fragility and volatility of human life. In the midst of this desolation, they sought comfort in each other, supporting each other as they navigated the turbulent waters of suffering and loss. This period of mourning was also one of introspection and spiritual growth for Eve. The loss of Abel taught her about the depth of maternal love and the inscrutable pain that accompanies the loss of a child. The departure of Cain, in turn, was a lesson in the irreparable consequences of actions driven by anger and jealousy. Through these trials, Eve found a strength and resilience she did not know she possessed, an ability to face adversity and move forward despite the pain that seemed insurmountable. The arrival of Seth, another son, to the family provided a ray of hope and a new beginning. Seth not only offered comfort to his parents in their mourning, but also symbolized the continuity of life and the possibility of redemption. Through Seth, Eve and Adam saw the opportunity to rebuild their family and to impart the lessons learned from their previous experiences. This new chapter allowed them to redefine their legacy, one that would include not only the stories of Cain and Abel but also the promise of a different future for their descendants. In this context of renewal and recovery, Eve assumed a central role as the matriarch of her growing lineage. Her wisdom, forged in the crucible of adversity, became a beacon for her family. The stories of her life, with their joys, tragedies, and learnings, were woven into the fabric of oral tradition, passing from generation to generation as a testimony to the human capacity to overcome tragedy and find meaning in the continuous struggle against adversity. Life after the tragedy for Eve and Adam was a testimony to human resilience and the power of love and faith to restore hope in the darkest moments. Although the paradise of Eden was lost forever, they discovered that the true paradise lay in the capacity to love, to forgive, and to begin anew, regardless of the circumstances. This legacy of strength and renewal would be their greatest contribution to future generations, a reminder that, even in the face of the deepest loss, life can flourish anew. Chapter 10: Eve's Legacy Through the Generations. As the years unfolded before Eve and her family, the matriarch of humanity contemplated the expansion of her lineage with a mix of pride, hope, and wisdom tempered by the experiences of her long life. Since the birth of Seth, Eve has witnessed the proliferation of generations that, through their lives, struggles, and triumphs, have woven the complex fabric of human history. Each descendant carried with them a part of her legacy, a narrative imbued with the lessons learned from Eden and the challenges and opportunities of a constantly changing world. Eve's legacy, deeply rooted in the foundational experiences of love, loss, redemption, and hope, became a cornerstone for her descendants. The stories of their lives, from the Garden of Eden to the days beyond the tragedy of Cain and Abel, were passed down from generation to generation, not only as memories of the past but as guides for navigating the present and future. Humanity, in its perpetual quest for meaning and purpose, found in these stories a mirror of its struggles and aspirations. Seth, in particular, represented for Eve and Adam not just a source of comfort after their immense loss but also the beginning of a new chapter in human history. Through him and his descendants, Eve's legacy was perpetuated, marking the beginning of a promise of renewal and growth. This lineage, aware of its origin and the lessons inherited, faced life with resilience and faith that had been forged at the dawn of human existence. Throughout the centuries, Eve's impact on biblical history and humanity's understanding of itself has remained a topic of reflection and debate. Her story, rich in symbolism and teachings, continues to resonate with those who seek to understand the complexity of the human condition, the duality of our strengths and weaknesses, and the possibility of redemption despite flaws. Eve's legacy transcends the narrative of her personal life to become a fundamental part of humanity's collective heritage. Through her descendants, and in the stories we share, her experiences remain alive, reminding us of the importance of facing adversity with grace, of seeking wisdom in our choices, and of valuing love and connection above all else. In this sense, Eve is remembered not only as the first woman but also as an eternal figure, representing humanity's unceasing struggle to find its way in an imperfect world, the capacity to love deeply despite pain, and the inexhaustible hope for a better future.